Hey guys, it's Aaron. Before I get into my short little video here, I just wanted to redirect you to the live. If you go to the channel here, this is the video I did with Dr. B and I. It was really fun. Make sure you check that out. And the last couple live streams that I've done personally, a few of these with Christy. There's with Christy. I think this one, this was with Christy, and I did 2 of them by myself. So the last 5 live streams are all pointing to this particular weekend coming up. And then in the video section, the last few as well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 short ones that are just kind of quick videos of the lives. So just all tying together with the May 6th theme. And here's Dr. Barry's channel. If you don't know his channel, there it is. And then here's a video that I keep on forgetting to mention. It's Messiah 2030 channel. This video right here. It's called Messiah 2030, the prophetic messianic timeline. Now, he doesn't talk about the rapture at all, but he basically gives a really good argument that 2030 is second coming. So certainly check that out. It's around 2 hours, but worth the watch. And watch me for that great day. There was a live stream I did with him not too long ago, and that was a fun one. So if you haven't seen that one, that was with Bob and Ronnie as well. And he titled it This Year, Oh Yeah. And he was sort of piggybacking off the 2030, but we added some extra details in there as well. That was a good one. So yeah, I'll turn the camera around. So yeah, this is just a short video based on the whole bread theme here. I started making lots of notes here with all these verses, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just make a short video. So I might come out with a longer live stream study on this theme, and maybe what you guys can do to help out is if you have any verses related to bread and how it connects with our theme here, please leave it in the comment section, and maybe we can build off that and as a group of people come together with the study of bread. But here's the main chunky things that I wanted to bring out. Somebody left a comment in the live stream, and they brought up Revelation 2:17. So let me read that. And this is written to the angel of the church of Pergamos. But in 2:17, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give some of the hidden manna to eat. The hidden manna. The hidden manna. And if we go to Hebrews 9 verse 4, I'll pause it. Here's another manna reference, Hebrews 9 verse 4. We're talking about Aaron and the showbread and all this kind of stuff in the veil. And this verse says, which had the golden censer and the ark of the covenant overlaid on all sides with the gold, in which were the golden pot that had the manna, Aaron's rod that budded, and the tablets of the covenant. So there needed to be a golden pot that had the manna in it, and that comes from Exodus 16, okay, which Exodus 16 happened on the 15th day of the second month, okay, but before I go there, let me go to the manna verse here. This is Exodus 16, verse 33. And Moses said to Aaron, take a pot and put an omer of manna in it and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for your generations. Why? Because this was a memorial of what happened, and what was a memorial? Bread rained down from heaven in Exodus 16, verse 1, the 15th day of the second month. So I just wanted to re-highlight this theme. So, and then what happens in John 6, Jesus feeds the 5,000, 5 loaves of bread, 2 fish. We know that David, when he came, he took bread from the priest. He took 5 loaves. So there's a theme. There's certainly a theme of bread here. But in John 6, I'm really leaning towards that was second Passover, because he is telling them he is the bread of heaven in John 6. So here's the overview of what I just said now. I just shared some verses. So we've got John 6, the feeding of the 5,000. We've got Exodus 16, bread from heaven on the 15th day of the second month, which is second Passover, which is connected to this following weekend that's coming up. We've got this little hidden meta gem in Revelation 2:17. We've got this memorial theme in Hebrews 9 verse 4 of the bread. It's got to be there. The bread in the pot as a memorial. We've got this theme of bread all over the Bible of there's lots of times when he repeats himself and says, you guys remember when I fed you bread in the wilderness? Okay, so now, just off the top of my head here, When they escape from Exodus at the beginning there, it doesn't really talk about how they ate from the time that they left on the 14th of Nisan to the time that they rained bread from heaven. So it's possible that they didn't eat for around 30 days. So they would have been really hungry. Like, in fact, if God didn't intervene and rain bread from heaven, they would have died. So this bread represented life. It represented eternal, well, not eternal life in that moment, but physically it meant life. If they didn't eat that bread, they were toast. They were gone. Now, what happened in Exodus 16? God said, okay, I'm going to rain bread from heaven, but here's the rules. And they broke the rules. And then there was some anger there. And God was like, what the heck? And Moses was like, what the heck, guys? Later on in the Old Testament, it's talking about how, they were complaining about the bread. So they would kind of rejected the bread in a way. In John 6, they've got a similar theme. He fed the 5,000, and then he goes on the boat, and there's a storm, which I think represents the rapture right there, the storm right after the feeding of the 5,000. And then the next day, he's talking with the people that he already fed, and they're like, prove it. Prove to us. Prove. What sign are you going to show us? It says here in verse 30, therefore they said to him, what sign will you perform then, that we may see it and believe you? What work will you do? Our fathers ate the manna in the desert, as it is written, he gave them bread from heaven. So they're kind of testing Jesus again. So the whole pattern in John 6 is the pattern in Exodus 16. In Exodus 16, they didn't really follow the rules. They kind of eventually complained about the manna. In John 6, they get the bread from heaven. They see the miracle. And then the next day, they're kind of testing him a little bit, asking him. And then Jesus is saying, I am the bread of life. You've got to believe in me. And then there's all these themes of Jesus talking about being the bread of life. And it's just all over the place. He was tempted with Satan with the bread. And there's the Last Supper. There's the Passover, bread and wine. There's a lot there. There's a lot all over the place. So I think we can get into a deep study here. But the point is this. Here's the other point too. Actually, second Passover is what started the miracle. Second Passover is when the skies broke open. Oh yeah, in Exodus 16 verse 10, what does it say here? In Exodus 16 verse 10, it says, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, it sounds like a rapture to me. The glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. That sounds like 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. It sounds like Revelation chapter 4. It sounds like Revelation chapter 14. It sounds like the rapture right there. So the skies break open, the miracle happens in the sky, eternal life is given. And then this happens for 40 years. I think there's a 40-year gap between 30 AD and 70 AD. You times it with the Jubilee cycles, and we talked about the math before. But where am I going with this? Oh yeah, the 40 years ended when Joshua met Jesus, and that's in the book of Joshua. And we've got Joshua 5. We can read 10 and on. Now the children of Israel camped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at twilight on the plains of Jericho. And they ate the produce of the land on the day after the Passover, unleavened bread and parched grain on the very same day. Then the manna ceased on the day after they had eaten the produce. But then what happens after the manna ceases? And it came to pass, when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, a man stood opposite with him, with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said to him, are you for us or for our adversaries? So he said, no, but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and said to him, what does my Lord say to his servant? Then the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, take your sandal off your foot, for the place where you stand is holy. And Joshua did so. So we've got the appearance of the glory of the Lord in Exodus 16, right at the beginning of this sky miracle, 15th day of the second month, and then 40 years later it ends, and then Joshua meets the commander of the Lord, which I think we know that it's Jesus. So it's basically starts and ends with Jesus, this 40-year thing. And here it is now in the New Testament, Jesus saying he is the bread of life. And so we've got this beautiful connection. So if the miracle started on second Passover for them, will it happen for us on second Passover? That's the question. I don't know. Well, that study might be coming soon, guys. Love you. Go Jesus go. One day closer. See you in the clouds. Oh yeah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.